At the beginning of the anime, we see our protagonist Kon Hokaze fighting against a monster. He immediately tries to launch his most powerful attack, but before he finishes saying the name, his rival attacks him, knocking him down and achieving the end of the game, and we see Kon Hokaze in real life. While he regrets having lost, he receives an alarm from a girl who wants to talk to him in the game. Kon activates the voice chat, and she introduces herself as Flora and tells him that she needs his help in real life. Our protagonist agrees immediately while thinking that maybe he has found the love of his life and that he can finally lose his virginity. Then Kon tells him that he will see her wherever she is, but Flora tells him not to worry because they will be able to see each other very soon. In the game, a carriage is chased by tanks. When they are cornered, they start to fight until there is only one man left protecting the princess. He is called Iron Sanglane by his pursuer, who is about to fight him. But at that moment, Kon falls on him, still sitting on his desk chair. Then the Sanglane is about to escape when the princess tells him to take Kon with them. When they reach a safe area, they start asking Kon many questions, but he just wants to know where he is. They answer him that they are on the outskirts of St. Pyria, a name he doesn't know, and that makes our protagonist believe he is in a dream until the princess hits him, and he, without knowing who she is, turns to do the same. But his protector points his sword at him, telling him that she is the princess Escarlate Juptris St. Pyria. Later, as they walk through the desert, the princess's maid, who to Kon's misfortune turned out to be a man, explains to him that the princess was traveling to the capital to marry Mr. Jugleberg. This surprises Kon since she is an 8-year-old girl. Kon then asks them to buy her some shoes for saving them. When they leave the store, Sanglane realizes that they are being followed and tells them that when he counts to 3 they will run. When they reach an alley, they beat 2 soldiers and take their weapons. After escaping, Kon decides to go see if anyone is coming, but when he tells them no, a knight named Eric Pyle Dukakis appears, who immediately begins to fight Sanglane, admitting that he is a great swordsman, but that thanks to his sword he will not be able to defeat him. Eric then presses a button on his sword and defeats Sanglane and Marion. At that moment, Kon decides to fight and protect the princess. When Eric attacks him, he breaks his sword and then goes to the princess to assassinate her, telling her that it is for the common good. But our protagonist does not give up. Eric is about to use his final attack, but Kon kicks him in the crotch, leaving him lying on the ground in pain. Afterwards, as they continue on their way, Marion tells Kon that she can't believe she defeated him, but the important thing is that she took his sword. Eric wakes up in the hospital, and the doctor gives him the sad news that they had to remove one of his testicles. He then vows to take revenge on him, calling him DT, as he believes that is his nickname. Meanwhile, Kon complains about having to work protecting the princess as he wishes to return to his world. Later, Sanglane is testing the weapon Kon took from Eric, but they still don't know how to use its power. At that moment, the princess appears to talk to Kon, and she explains that she must marry Lord Jugleberg to prevent a war from happening, and that's why she needs Kon to protect her too. At that moment, they are attacked again by Eric and his soldiers. Sanglane decides to open the way for Kon to attack with his new sword, but Eric says he cannot use it because it can only be activated by chosen warriors. At that moment, the sword begins to glow with power and surprises Eric. Our protagonist launches an attack, but on the way stumbles on a stone. Then he is attacked by Eric, but after losing one of his testicles, he also lost his balance and his aim. Then Kon defeats him again and makes them retreat. While Kon and the others are on their way to the capital, they encounter a cute wild animal that seems to want Kon's attention, but Kon just ignores it because he thinks it's just a distraction on their journey. The next day, Kon wakes up and discovers that the little creature has followed them, but he doesn't seem to like it at all. When Marion goes to her room, she calls the animal and decides that she will take care of it. Days later, Kon tries to hunt and get rid of the little animal. The princess summons everyone to a meeting where she tells Kon that he has been behaving strangely with the animal, and he finally decides to lie, saying that he is allergic to animals. But they soon discover that it is not true, and Marion asks him what is really going on. Kon tells them that when he was little, he rescued 2 little kittens. When he took them home, his mother allowed them to stay, so he fed them and took care of them. But what really happened is that he could never win the kitten's love, and since then, he swears he never gets involved with cute animals again. Our protagonist decides to give it a chance and apologizes to the beast, but when he reaches out his hand to pet it, the little animal bites him and earns his hatred. Eric and Variation go to one of his family's houses. When they arrive, a girl greets them, and Eric explains that she is his fiancée named Amelia. Later, when out on a picnic with Amelia and Variation, she talks about children to Eric, but he feels bad since thanks to Kon, he no longer has testicles. When they return home, they are visited by two members of the Dasgas family, one of whom brought her some of her family's secret medicine as a gift. She explains to him that if he drinks it, he will recover from any wounds he has. Then Limpus prepares the medicine, and while talking to his sister Gabriella, he tells her that actually that medicine heals, but it also hardens some parts of the body. Then he reveals the plans they have, telling his sister that she must conquer Eric and marry him. Later, after Eric takes the medicine, they set a trap for him, making everyone believe that he was abusing Gabriella. It is then that Limpus challenges him to a duel for his honor, and Eric accepts in order to win Amelia back. The next day, the two meet to have their duel, but Limpus cheats and hires other men to fight Eric. After Eric manages to beat every last opponent, he goes to Limpus to make him admit that it was all planned, and when he turns around, Limpus hits him in the crotch, but it doesn't hurt him, and Eric knocks him down with one blow, winning back the trust of his beloved Amelia. Days later, Kon and the others arrive at an inn near a beach, but our protagonist is embarrassed by his physical appearance. Later, when they are on the beach, Kon can't understand how Marion has so many admirers as a transsexual, and Sanglane tells him the story of how she became a transsexual. Then we see part of Marion's memories, where she is training and her father comes to reveal the secret technique under the jealous gaze of one of her two brothers, who years later murders his father while he is sick. Days later, while burying her father's ashes, Marion is blamed by her brother for murdering her father. Sometime later, Marion's brother tries to kill him, explaining that although he is the eldest, Marion has won the affection of the people and is more suitable to be the successor of his father. It is then that Marion tells him to leave the house and that he will seal his abilities to never use them. After leaving the house, he is found by a girl named Mariandel. She takes care of him until he wakes up and they both decide to continue traveling together, until one day while they are sitting on the edge of a river, Mariandel dies of an illness. And that is how Marion finally decides to live the life of the girl he loved in the past. The next day, Kon wakes up and sees Marion sleeping next to him. So he makes a fuss and ends up finding out that Marion's whole story was a lie, that she is a transsexual just because she wanted to be. While Kon and the others rest at an inn, Marion alerts them to some strange behavior in the princess, as apparently her family has periods of hyperactivity. At once, Marion orders Kon and Sanglane to go buy more food, and they set off without realizing that they are being pursued by an assassin. When they return from their shopping, they bring the princess the plates of food, and as they are about to leave, the princess tells Sanglane that he must say meow at the end of each sentence. Despite Marion and Sanglane's warnings, Kon decides to go talk to the princess, as he doesn't understand why they are so afraid of him. After that, everyone goes to sleep, and the assassin takes the opportunity to sneak out. When he enters, he tries to attack Marion while she is cooking, but she nimbly stops him with the spoon. After being beaten by Marion, he encounters Sanglane, from whom he runs away terrified as he does not perceive any kind of emotion. That's when he finds the princess's room, whom he is about to stab, but unexpectedly runs out in panic looking for help. Kon then follows him to see what happened and finally understands what Sanglane and Marion were talking about. Days later, they arrive at the hot springs. Kon and Sanglane are enjoying their bath when suddenly our protagonist withdraws. On his way out, he meets Eric and starts to hide from him so he won't see him. Kon heads into town to look for Sanglane and enters the part where the bars and call girls are. After much searching, he analyzes his friend's fetishes and ends up finding him where you pay to play with cuddly pets. Kon re-enters the hot springs and there he meets Eric, who challenges him to a duel. But Kon explains that they can't fight there because they would hurt too many people. So while they are getting dressed, our protagonist cheats and hits his enemy from behind. Then they leave in the middle of the night, since Kon's body began to glow thanks to the hot springs. They cover him as if he were the Invisible Man. Upon arriving in a city, people get curious and take off his bandages, leaving him naked. Upon seeing the glow his body emits, they begin to call him God. After the people build him a temple, Kon and the others escape, telling them that they must return to heaven. Eric's soldiers argue over who will be their commander's right-hand man, each telling what kind of training they had to find out who is the strongest. Meanwhile, Eric meets Flora, who gives him a sword with a new Alma gear, like the one Kon stole from him. Variation and the other soldiers decide to prove who will be Eric's right-hand man by fighting a monster, but an even bigger one appears, knocking everyone down, at which point Eric shows up defeating the monster with the help of his new sword. After so many trips, Kon misses his world and even begins to hallucinate. After Kon asks them for a hamburger, Marianne decides to try to make it and manages to get it exactly as our protagonist wishes, although after seeing how it was made, he feels disgusted. Then they get him a book equivalent to a manga in his world. Finally, Sanglain takes him to play real games and scores him in a fight, from which he ends up escaping. As Kon and his companions walk to the next town, they hear a rumble, and immediately a tank attack from Eric's soldiers comes towards them. While fighting them, they discover that all of their weapons are Alma gear. Eric attacks Kon, and from the impact they fall. When they are down, they realize that one of Eric's nearby soldiers fell with them. Likewise, Eric has Marion as a prisoner. Kon is in charge of taking information from Leon, who tells him about the weaknesses of each of his companions. After each hostage returns with his team, Eric follows Marion to where the princess is to attack them. But when they arrive, they find traps set exclusively for each of their soldiers. They then encounter Kon and the princess. Then Eric launches an attack that wipes them both out. After the confrontation where Eric finished off Kon and the princess, they continue to watch Sanglain and Marion. But even after several days, they see nothing suspicious in their behaviors. Marion tricks Gustav at the bar, making him believe that she is very sad about the loss of her princess. The next day, when he realizes it is too late because they have both escaped, he immediately ties things up and runs to the cemetery, sure that DT will be there. But when he arrives, he only sees the funeral of the princess and Kon. It is then that both confirm to Eric the deaths of DT and Princess Escarlate Juptris St. Pyria. Obviously, things weren't going to end like this, as it would literally be the most controversial anime ever. So Sanglain and Marion meet up in the desert with Kon and Escarlate, who are safe and sound. The group meets at a nearby town's coffee shop, and Kon reveals that they made a pretense using a mirror to fool Dukakis, while Marion and Sanglain acted too well by faking it at the funeral. Kon is seized with a tremendous stomachache, so the group leaves the scene in search of a bathroom. On the way, they run into Miranda, an extremely energetic and sentimental waifu. She falls in love at first sight with Kon, as they exchange glances while he goes to the bathroom. However, Marion is unaware of Miranda's sentimentality and literally tells the waifu that Kon is not feeling well and does not have much time left, referring to Kon's desire to use the restroom. Miranda takes this very seriously and chases Kon around trying to save him, even beating him up while he tries to go to the doctor, as she keeps fantasizing about novel moments. Later, Kon goes to the doctor with Marion, who accompanies him so he doesn't get beaten up again, but Miranda sees this and becomes enraged, as she thinks Kon is being unfaithful to her, so she runs after him and uses her sword to harm him. Marion runs away from the place, and Kon is finally able to go to the doctor. However, the doctor tells him that he has nothing and recommends him to stop eating so many unhealthy things. So Kon leaves the place, not knowing that Miranda was watching him from afar, fantasizing. The crazy waifu goes after him and begins to beat him violently so that his feelings are reciprocated, forcing him to confess his feelings for her. Obviously, Kon has no idea what's going on, so she challenges him to a duel and beats him up. Kon is forced to declare his love for Miranda so that she won't keep hitting him, but the waifu surprisingly rejects him. The anime gives a clear example of how unpredictable women are because the next day Kon and his group leave town, but Miranda is left watching him lovingly from afar. Arriving at Newports, Sanglain feels that he is being ripped off on the price of the trip, so he tells the group that they will have to find another way to travel. Escarlate suggests they go overland, so she has time to try some exotic dukes from another city. Although this would delay them significantly, they all agree without much hesitation. However, Kon decides to step aside momentarily to go to the bathroom, so he wanders the city in search of one. In an alley, he discovers Sanglain's pet talking on a radio transmission, so he begins to thoroughly interrogate the little squirrel for answers. Unbeknownst to him, Variation passes by him and looks at him with surprise, as one who doesn't believe his eyes. The squirrel finally reveals his true nature, explaining to Kon that he is a reincarnation of his father and that he is there to protect him. Kon literally doesn't understand a word, but becomes obsessed with showing the rest of the group his discovery. Kon takes advantage of the train ride to show his companions his latest find, so he tries to convince them again and again, but they look at him like he's crazy, so he has the brilliant idea to use his sword to castrate him. Logically, the squirrel screams for him not to do it. Meanwhile, Dukakis passes by the train and sees Kon, but he too tries to convince himself that it's just a figment of his imagination. After traveling for days, Kon and the others arrive at the royal capital. Meanwhile, Ekarlata's father argues with the Prince of Juglaberk, since he was engaged to Ekarlata and wants to know if the rumors of her death are real. But the king denies them and guarantees that Ekarlata is alive, leaving the place and leaving the prince with several doubts. Later, the lowly arrives at the royal hall and appears before her father to ask for her crown, according to the arrangement she has with Prince Juglaberk. The king agrees and the lowly takes her leave, but not before asking for his help in returning Kon to his world, whereupon the king recommends that she meet with the royal astrologers. The group meets to plan their next moves, and Kon asks for a map to show him how to get to the tower of the royal astrologers. After walking for a long while through the corridors of the subterraneo, Kon finally admits that he is more lost than an otaku in a discotheque. Fortunately, he meets the group's mascot, who helps him reach his destination. However, they accidentally stumble upon a clandestine meeting organized by an anti-imperialist group, and although they manage to escape before they are caught, the same situation surrounds them twice more. The leaders of these organizations chase them until they find themselves outside the place and start fighting each other, as they are enemies. Kon seizes the moment to escape and infiltrate the Tower of the Astrologers, where he meets one of the wise men of the place and thinks he will finally get an answer, but the old man only tells him that he can help him with his horoscope. Kon was about to give up, but a mysterious voice tells him that he will find answers in the realm of Juglaberk. Kon runs upstairs in pursuit of the voice, but when he looks up into the sky, he discovers Oldivia, the floating city that can take him to his world. Because of this, Kon returns to the group to announce that he will join them to travel to Juglaberk. Fortunately, Ekarlata's fiancé invites them to travel in his airship, making their journey easier. Meanwhile, Eric Dukakis has realized that Kon is still alive, so he gathers his army to show his nonconformity with this. Also, is revealed to have asked Variation to keep a close eye on them, so Variation has infiltrated the prince's ship to deliver the coup de grace. After searching for the perfect moment, he stumbles upon Kon's room and finds him clowning around. Upon being discovered, he quickly dons a disguise that only the brainless Kon wouldn't notice, and finally enters the place to shoot him. Meanwhile, Prince Nabokov is warned by one of his trusted men about the presence of an intruder, but decides not to intrude for political reasons. Gradually, Variation meets each of the members of the group and takes care of them, as none of them is able to realize his disguise, except for Scarlet, who understands the situation immediately. Fortunately, Kon and his friends are not killed, as they had lucky charms that saved them from the gunshot. Upon entering Ekarlata's room, they discover that she is not dead either, as Variation literally is a sadist and only enjoys making his victims suffer, and since Ekarlata did not show any fear, he gave up and decided to leave. The group finally arrives at the kingdom of Juglaberk and meets Maynes, the one in charge of the protocol ceremonies. He explains to them that by the traditions of the kingdom, Ekarlata and Nabokov cannot meet until the wedding day, as the lowly will have to go through some 18 rituals before getting married. Kon ignores this and hurries to ask Maynes if he knows anything about Olvidia, but the old man refuses to answer anything despite Kon's insistence, since everything related to that subject is a secret. Kon becomes impatient, but fortunately his pet uses his network of contacts to give him valuable information. The two go to Ixion, the research center that Maynes had tried to hide, and after stealthily infiltrating, Kon meets with the receptionist there, who puts the security staff on alert when she hears that Kon is looking for information about Olvidia. Kon is locked in a dungeon and placed under surveillance. An anonymous voice puts him under interrogation, and Kon meets Alan Yodogawa, the director and president of the lab. The young scientist wants to know more about Kon's world, so he starts asking him some questions about it to find out if what Kon says is real. He then subjects him to some experiments to find out if his physical structure is the same as theirs, and ends up being disappointed to see that there is no difference. Then, Kon takes advantage of the break between tests and asks Aiden how much he knows about Olvidia. The young scientist explains that there is no precise and 100% accurate information, but reveals that one of the legends that circulates around the mysterious ship is that it is inhabited by the gods who created everything. Furthermore, he reveals that although he has hundreds and hundreds of hypotheses about it, the only thing he can say is that Olvidia had to be created by someone, and that it runs on enormous amounts of energy. After this, Aiden takes Kon prisoner in a very disturbing way, and asks his waifus to help him investigate Kon's body. Fortunately, Kon's pet arrives just in time and helps him escape. The next day, Manus explains to the group what the ceremonial rituals consist of, and Kon thinks he is wasting his time there until he hears that ritual number 18 is called Oblivion. And although he tries to get answers, Manus refuses to give him any more details until the day of the ritual arrives. In fact, the first ritual is performed almost immediately, and all of Ekarlata's servants perform almost all of the work as they are merely symbolic. As the days go by, the rituals go on, mainly carried out by Kon, who is tired of having to do everything knowing that it's not even about his wedding. Reaching the fifth ritual, Kon arranges an absurd amount of domino pieces, but just when he thought he had finally finished this ritual, Marion explains to him that he must arrange over 4,500,000 pieces, as this is what is due according to tradition. Kon freaks out upon hearing this, but little does he know that a bigger problem is looming for him, as Eric and his minions are keeping a close eye on them. And as the days go by, the military organizes hundreds of plans to sabotage the rituals and prevent the wedding. For example, they pose in their underwear, dress up as women, and stay up all night watching them, but nothing works. Finally, Eric's henchmen believe that their boss got fed up with waiting and jumped in to confront Kon, but he only came over because he couldn't bear to see that he made a mistake in making a crooked line, and he's too much of a perfectionist to let that detail go. Since he's an isekai, and we all watch it for fun, these logically take their leave without fighting until further notice, as Eric has a new plan: buy all the dominoes to sabotage the ritual. The next day he goes to the stores in the city and finds that they sell the pieces at exaggeratedly high prices, since the nobles of the kingdom pay whatever it takes to contribute to the royal wedding. As Eric and his group are literally as if they had never worked in their lives, they have no choice but to turn to a smuggler who is passing through the place. He offered them parts at a super cheap price, but unfortunately for them, Marion and Kon arrive just in time to carry out the same task. After struggling for a while, Eric and Marion end up on the ground in a very uncomfortable position for us, but very desired for them. Days later, another rather strange ritual takes place in the kingdom of Juglaberk, and both Kon and the princess begin to get fed up with such formalities. In fact, while walking down the street, the rest of the group notices how stressed the princess is, so they do their best to distract her and prevent her from getting even more irritated. With trepidation, Marion tells her to choose a plan for the afternoon, and Scarlet chooses to go to karaoke. Once there, the princess humiliates them by making them sing embarrassing songs, as well as threatening to kill the pet if she doesn't score the right points. Interestingly, Eric and his gang also spend the afternoon in a chaotic karaoke session. Kon took advantage of a moment of distraction to go to the bathroom, but he was literally having such a bad time that he looked for an excuse not to come back. However, it didn't work for him, and he was dragged back to the torture. Meanwhile, poor Eric couldn't sing any songs, as his companions ran out of time and the place was about to close. The next morning, Kon and the rest finally leave the hellish karaoke. Finally, Kon witnesses the 18th ceremony day. With expectations running high, he watches the Oblivion ritual take place, but realizes that it literally has nothing to do with the purpose for which he traveled to that city, but is just an elephant fight symbolizing the struggle of marriage. Ekarlata and Lord Juglaberk get married once and for all in front of everyone present, without knowing that from above, Eric and his henchmen are lamenting that they have not been able to carry out their mission. Moreover, they are completely bankrupt and depressed. Despite this, Eric does not feel any resentment towards Kon or anything of the sort. In the evening, Kon can't hold his nerves when he learns that Ekarlata will be spending the night with her brand new husband. In fact, he is the only one who is worried about this, since no one seems to care that she is a lowly who is about to consummate marriage together with an adult. After bidding an emotional farewell to all her friends, Ekarlata enters the matrimonial room. What Kon so feared is not even close to happening, as Prince Juglaberk is extremely weird, and his entire room is filled with stuffed animals. In fact, he himself uses one of them to communicate. In addition, he asks Scarlet to disguise herself as an animal. Kon can't sleep from thinking about this, as his head is spinning with 1,000 feelings of worry that Lord Juglaberk is a degenerate. Meanwhile, Ekarlate and her fiancé go to sleep, but she is frightened when he slowly approaches her, so she hits him so hard that he leaves the room in ruins. Kon hears the scream and fears that the worst has happened, so he runs to the scene and finds the prince lying on the floor and Ekarlate lying angrily on the bed. The rest of the group immediately arrived at the scene and warned Kon to escape from the place as soon as possible, but Juglaberk's troops arrive instantly and start chasing them everywhere, believing that Kon caused the whole mess. Meanwhile, Eric was reflecting on everything that happened when he sees a mob approaching. Kon and his group suddenly appear and greet him in a friendly manner, after which they shoot out of the place and an army of Juglaberg starts attacking him. His henchmen help him fight and immediately understand that Kon set them up to escape. Later, Ekarlata tells them everything that has happened in the room, making them understand that she did not dislike Eric's fetish for puppets, nor that he had to disguise himself, but that Lord Juglaberg had a hair on his nose. Simultaneously, a flashback reveals that everything that happened was done from the shadows by some elite soldiers who infiltrated Juglaberg's palace to place a nose hair on the prince, as they had spied on Scarlet for a long time and discovered his weakness. One of these elite soldiers warns his companions that he has found a spy in the place, revealing that Variation managed to infiltrate his headquarters. They go out to look for him and manage to corner him, but when they were about to capture him, a portal takes him away. The same happens with Eric and the others. In parallel, the mascot tells his friends not to be frightened by what is about to happen. As they wonder what he means, a portal opens in the floor and takes them away. Kon returns to his room and remembers everything that happened when he was transported. Then he comes face to face with the waifu responsible for all this. She asks him for help to stop the evil hombre who is trying to destroy the world, but tells him that he has every right to leave if he doesn't want to help, since she doesn't want to force him. Kon is very hesitant, but he knows that if he helps the waifu, she will do mischief along with him, so he agrees even though he will probably lose his life in the process. On the other hand, Eric and his gang also arrive on the scene and wonder what is going on. The waifu explains to them that in the past, a civilization called Ixion controlled the world peacefully with soul energy, but now some mysterious men are doing their best to bring the world to ruin. Variation explains to everyone what she discovered about the Archbishop of the Ilga Hemendad and his elite soldiers, and the waifu confirms that the Archbishop is the reason she has gathered them all together, as they must defeat him to bring peace to the world. He also explains that he has given them all Hyperion powers. Then, the group in charge of saving the world goes underground to obtain special weapons to help them accomplish their mission, and after making several attempts at the weapon supply machine, they get their tools for battle. The waifu sends them back to the exact spot where they were before transporting them with the portal. Days later, Kon and the group run to the battlefield confident in their new powers, but Marion discovers that her older brother is in the ranks of the enemy army, so the group must run to avoid hurting him. Kon tries to encourage everyone to go for another battlefront, but upon arrival, Electra discovers her brother, and the same thing happens as before. The same with Sanglain, who had tried to encourage everyone, but didn't want to fight his brother. Meanwhile, a flashback reveals that Ilga's Brotherhood offered themselves as an ally to both empires, so literally the Archbishop is being a double agent. After lunch, Kon is bitten by a spider and collapses to the ground. Meanwhile, Eric meets with the Archbishop to inform him that Ekarlata and her group will try to put an end to the war, to which the Archbishop replies to stand aside and wait for further orders, which leaves Eric bewildered. After this, he meets with Variation, who tells him that he has been attacked by the elite soldiers. Although he was in a deplorable state, Gustav uses his new powers to save him. Meanwhile, the anime's most desired waifu manages to remove Kon's poison and explains that he is cursed, so she performs a ritual to remove the curse. The messy ritual consists of boiling him in a pot until he is able to spill the water on the ground. But fortunately everything goes well for him, and now he is more than ready to face the war. The day of war arrives and each of the empires takes its place on the battlefield to begin the attack. Kon and his friends rush full speed to the scene, but are intercepted by a group of elite soldiers led by a bishop. However, these are no match for Princess Scarlet and her new powers, but Kon quickly realizes that these soldiers are there not to defeat them, but to delay them. Fortunately, Eric and his group arrive on the scene, having renounced the Brotherhood once and for all. Thanks to them, the elite soldiers and the bishop are defeated effortlessly, so now they just have to put an end to the final battle. They use a tank to reach the location, and Kon speaks to all the soldiers through a loudspeaker, explaining that he and his friends were chosen by the Ixion to put an end to the war. To show them what they are capable of, Kon tricks everyone by playing epic music on his cell phone, and the waifu commands a zeppelin in the shape of Olvidia. Seeing this, the soldiers immediately leave the place, and the war seems to come to an end. However, the Archbishop plays his trick, a kawaii but fearsome and gigantic creature, which blows up the waifu's zeppelin with a single blow and sows chaos. Eric explains to everyone that this creature is called Forezo and is the Brotherhood's biggest weapon, so Kon begins to think about how he will defeat it. However, his friends set out to attack Forezo with all their might, and after giving it an infinite amount of attacks, they finally accept that they are unable to inflict damage on it. Fortunately for them, Kon literally brought out his inner salesman and persuaded Forezo to stop attacking everyone, telling him that he is an adult now and that he should not let them tell him what to do, but should think for himself. Miraculously, this worked out, and Forezo apologized for his actions, as well as helping Kon capture the kings. Days later, peace returned to the world, as the kings were forced to sign a peace treaty and left their posts. The archbishop was put in prison, elite soldiers now work for the people, and Forezo went to live on a desolate island. However, the final battle between Kon and Eric was yet to be defined, so they gathered exclusively to fight their last fight. After a long fight, when Eric was about to defeat Kon, Marion intervenes and reveals that the reason why Eric wants revenge at all costs is because Kon left him without his private parts when he gave him a devastating kick in one of the first episodes, and he won't be able to be a father. Marion tells him that he shouldn't take revenge on Kon, as she will take care of giving him that precious thing that Kon has taken away from him. Flora shows up and uses her magic to do the transplant, and well, Eric has private parts again. Kon seizes the moment and asks her to use her magic to bring him back to his world, obviously not before reminding him to keep his promise. She tells him that she can return him to his world immediately, but that she will keep her promise in a while. Everyone says a very, very emotional goodbye to Kon, and he returns to his world believing that it was just a long dream. But seeing that he still has a bump on his cheek, he realizes that it was all real, and smiles. The end. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new anime recaps.